Welcome back to Jacob Talks Politics. In this video, I'm going to be giving you my way too early predictions for the 2022 United States Senate elections. So every 2 years, all 435 seats in the House of Representatives are up for election, as well as 1/3 of the 100 seats in the U.S. Senate, because a senator's term lasts for 6 years. In 2022, there will be Senate elections in the states of New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Kansas, South Dakota, North Dakota, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, Idaho, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, and Alaska. So the map that I have right here, courtesy of Wikipedia, shows the incumbent party in each of these Senate seats that I just named. And the dark red that you see here, those are the senators that will be retiring in 2022. And currently, only 3 Republicans have indicated that they will retire: Pat Toomey in Pennsylvania, Richard Burr in North Carolina, and Rob Portman recently in Ohio. Now we can expect more to come soon, but on this tab, we see a map courtesy of the website, which is a really great political tool for political maps. It's called yapms.com. And this is the Senate map that I will be using to fill in for my prediction. And as you can see, the Democrats already have 36 seats and the Republicans have 30. And the blue circle filled in right here is Jon Ossoff's seat, who will not be up for election until 2026. And the reason that's on here is because this map was released before the January runoffs for the Georgia Senate elections. So I'm going to start by filling in what I consider to be the safe seats for the Democratic Party. I think Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, Illinois, New York, Vermont, Connecticut, Maryland will be the safe seats for the Democratic Party. Now, just a few quick notes on this. In the California Senate election, they have a system known as a jungle primary, in which there are a whole bunch of Democrats and a whole bunch of Republicans who compete in an election before November. And if nobody reaches 50%, then the top 2 contenders advance to the runoff, which is in November. So if we look at the 2016 Senate election, this was Kamala Harris's election. She and another Democrat advanced to the runoff, and Kamala Harris, of course, won. So if we look at the initial results from the jungle primary, you can see there are a whole bunch of Democrats and a whole bunch of Republicans. And if we look at the 2022 Senate election, we can see that Alex Padilla, who was appointed by Governor Gavin Newsom of California, will probably be the most likely person to win the seat. He succeeded Kamala Harris when she resigned to take on the vice presidency. So just a note there. And in the state of Vermont, even though this is a traditionally very, very Democratic state, they do have a popular Republican governor named Phil Scott. So if he does choose to run, I would think this state would be pretty competitive. But he has not yet indicated that he would run, so I'm just going to leave it as safe for the Democrats for now. And the safe Republican seats, I would classify Idaho, Utah, the Dakotas, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama, Kentucky, Indiana, and South Carolina. And I'm also going to go ahead and classify Alaska as safe for the Republicans, and I will get to why just in a second. So in Alaska, this is also a jungle primary system, and they recently adopted a method called ranked choice voting, where voters can rank the candidates in order of preference. So in case nobody reaches 50% in the first round, the last, the worst performing candidate gets their first votes, second votes redistributed amongst the other candidates, and this process continues until there's an actual winner, which I think is pretty interesting. So Lisa Murkowski, who is a very moderate Republican, has been elected a few times here. And as you can see, she's never really won a majority of the vote. But in 2022, this is when they will first use this ranked choice voting system. And as you can see here, it says that incumbent three-term Republican U.S. Senator Lisa Murkowski is seeking a fourth full term, and due to her opposition to some of his initiatives, former U.S. President Donald Trump has pledged to campaign against Murkowski, implicitly endorsing a primary challenge in the process, though Trump himself will not be in office at the time. So Lisa Murkowski, which, as I previously stated, is a very moderate Republican, is popular in the state of Alaska. And she has also kind of threatened to leave the Republican Party. But I still think in the end, no matter who the other candidates are, who primaries her or whatever, I think Lisa Murkowski will win in the state of Alaska. And I'm going to move on to what I was considered to be the likely states. For the Democrats, these are ones that won't be completely uncompetitive for the Republicans, but it will still be almost certain that Democrats win. So I think Colorado will be one of these. Michael Bennet is a popular Democratic senator. He ran for president. And also New Hampshire. So what's interesting about New Hampshire, even though it does kind of lean as a Democratic state, they have a very popular moderate Republican governor named Chris Sununu. So Chris Sununu has not explicitly said that he will run, but if he does, I would think that it might actually go red, but he hasn't yet. And if we look at the 2016 Senate election here, we can see how narrowly the incumbent Senator Maggie Hassan won by. She won by about 100 votes. This is extremely close. So I'm going to classify it as likely for now, but if Chris Sununu does decide to run, could be lean, could be tilt, the Republicans might even win it. But just for now, I'm classifying it as likely for the Democratic Party. I think I'm also going to go ahead and classify Nevada as likely. It'll probably end up being a little closer than what we would be considered likely. I think it will be competitive, but unless a well-known Republican does run, it's probably not going to be too competitive for the Republican Party. And I'm going to classify Missouri. Now in Missouri, it's a pretty Republican state. It voted for Donald Trump by a pretty big margin. Let me show you. In 2016, it voted for Trump by about 18 points, 56 to 38, and then this year in 2020, it was about 57 to 41. But in the Senate elections with Roy Blunt, it was actually fairly close. In his election in 2010, it was also somewhat close, but he narrowly won in 2016, so I don't think that it'll be too competitive this year, but just not safe for Roy Blunt when he runs for re-election. Now I'm going to go to the states of Iowa and Ohio. In Iowa, if we go and we take a look at this, Chuck Grassley is the incumbent senator here, and he is 87 years old. Now, he's one of the oldest senators in the Senate. He will be 89 years old in 2022, and he has still not said whether or not he's going to run. Now, if he does run for re-election, I think it will be safe. If we look at the previous margins, he won 60 to 36 in 2016. He won 64 to 33 in 2010. And in 2004, he won 70 to 28. Now, I'm not going to go back any further, but as you can see, Chuck Grassley is a very popular senator in the state of Iowa. And if he does choose to run for re-election, I think he will win by a very big margin. But if he doesn't, I think it will be somewhat competitive, but I still think it will go to the Republicans. And in Ohio, Rob Portman is the incumbent senator, and he also won his last election by a lot. He won it 58 to 37. And the presidential election in Ohio in 2016, the same year, Trump won it 52 to 44, which is still a big margin for a state that voted for Obama. But Ohio was still a big margin of win for Rob Portman. So he actually recently said that he would not run for re-election in 2022. He said this a few days ago, citing partisan gridlock as his reason. So previously, I would have said that it's safe for the Republicans, but since he has said that he's not going to run, I think it will actually be likely for the Republicans. Now, if we look at the possible candidates in here, I think Jim Jordan, who is a well-known House of Representatives member from Ohio, I think he will be the Republican nominee if he does run. And then if we look at the Democratic candidates, I think Tim Ryan, who ran for president in 2020, would be the most likely Democratic nominee here if he chooses to run. I still think the Republican would win, but I'm classifying it as likely for the Republicans now. So the states left are what I consider to be the most competitive. We have Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. I'm going to start with Florida because I think it will be the least competitive out of most of them, out of the ones that we have left. Marco Rubio is the incumbent senator here in Florida, and he will run for re-election. Because of his Cuban heritage, I believe he's Cuban, he has done very well in the southern area of the state, and actually many parts of the state, because he's popular with the Hispanic population in Florida, which is very prominent. So I don't think it really matters who the Democrats run in 2022. It could be Charlie Crist, it could be Val Demings or Ted Deutsch or Nikki Fried or Gwen Graham. These are all popular Democrats in Florida. I still think that Marco Rubio is going to win Florida by 2, 3, or 4 points. I don't think that's. I mean, unless something huge changes. Ivanka Trump has actually been rumored to possibly run or to primary Marco Rubio. That's Donald Trump's daughter, one of his daughters. So we'll see, but I think Marco Rubio will win. Next, we're going to go to Arizona. I'm going to say that Mark Kelly wins narrowly in Arizona. He was elected this year in a special election for the first time against Martha McSally, who actually lost both Arizona Senate seats to the Democrats. So in the span of a few years, both Senate seats in Arizona went from red to blue, which is pretty crazy. The shift that has been experienced in Arizona. So if we look at the candidates who might run in Arizona, the reason I think that Mark Kelly will definitely win is because the best Republican candidate that possibly could have run in Arizona was Governor Doug Ducey. He's popular there right now, and he said he would not run. So even though there's still Andy Biggs, who I know is a popular member of Congress in Arizona, even if it's him, I still think Mark Kelly is going to win in Arizona. And let's go next to Georgia. This year, as we know, Raphael Warnock was elected. He beat Kelly Loeffler in the Georgia special election by a margin 51-49. I don't know who Republicans could possibly run that would beat him. I think this race will definitely be very competitive. I think it will be close, but I still think that Raphael Warnock will win. Now, there's 3 states left. I'm going to start with North Carolina. In North Carolina, this is one of the 3 states where a Republican incumbent senator has indicated that they will not run for re-election, Richard Burr. So the only way I could see a Democrat winning is if it's Roy Cooper, who is a very popular Democratic governor in the state right now. He won re-election 52-47 this year on the same ballot that Donald Trump won. Yes, but I don't really think Roy Cooper is going to run. And I don't know who the Republicans are going to nominate. But regardless of who it is, whether it's Pat McCrory, the former governor, or Laura Trump. I think it's going to tilt blue. Now there's 2 states left. Pennsylvania is where incumbent senator, Republican Senator Pat Toomey is retiring. Let's see so John Fetterman is the popular lieutenant governor in Pennsylvania. He's filed paperwork, and there are also some other potential candidates that are popular. Let's see. Connor Lamb is who I was thinking of. He's a popular member of Congress in Pennsylvania, and yeah, so none of these Republicans that I can see here are too well known. I don't think Donald Trump Jr. is actually going to run. I don't even know if he lives in Pennsylvania. But I think that the Democrat is going to win here. And as you can see, Democrats currently have 51 seats, according to my very early prediction, meaning that they would take back control, or they would maintain control and expand control because they have flipped the state of Pennsylvania. And in Wisconsin, this is an interesting one because the incumbent senator is Ron Johnson, who previously said that he would not be running for re-election on the assumption that Donald Trump would win, but he did not. And he's only, I believe, 60-something years old, 65 years old right now. So he's not that old. And I think he will run for re-election. But he's not that popular, especially after sticking with Trump over the last few months with the election fraud claims and the Capitol riots. I don't think that's going to go over too well for Ron Johnson. He was narrowly elected in 2016, narrowly elected in 2010. So in 2022, this one is honestly a toss-up because none of these Democrats seem too well known. And Cook Political Report and Inside Elections and 270 to Win, they don't have it as Democratic. I'm just going to leave Wisconsin as a toss-up. I honestly have no idea who would win here, but this is my final prediction for my final very early prediction for the 2022 U.S. Senate elections. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you're interested in seeing political content like this, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and share the channel with